It is 6 p.m. on December the 4th, 2023, and it's time to call the Franklin City Council meeting to order. Ms. Rhodes, roll call, please.
Mr. Austin?
Here.
Mr. Hukin? Ms. McGinnis?
Here.
Ms. Nally?
Here.
Ms. Price? Mr. Prine?
Here.
And Mr. Hayes.
Here.
So you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Tom Moore, will you come forward with the prayer and pledge, please?
Let's stand for pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Our Father, we are grateful tonight, just having come out of this Thanksgiving season and really coming up into the Christmas season. There's much to be grateful for. What you've given us as a people and things that we don't even deserve, but yet we have and we enjoy the fruits of our labor and the wisdom that you've given us to make decisions here. And we just pray and ask that you would be with those I'm thinking of tonight who maybe are less fortunate, who don't have maybe what we have and what we can enjoy. And just those who might be suffering silently or maybe with hunger, or just those wondering how they're going to add some Christmas presents under the tree this season for their kids. And we just want to bring them before you and Lord, really just allow you to just work through us and just kind of provide for them and be a hand to them and physically meet their needs, just as you have met our needs. And you're a good God, and the colloquialism, the reason for the season rings true. You are the reason for the season, and I pray that we would have focus on that ever more as that time approaches in the next couple weeks. And as the new year approaches, help us to look to you for guidance and wisdom. And I pray for the council members tonight as they're doing just that and making decisions. Father, we live in a great nation and a great state and an even greater city, and we're just grateful for what you've given us and the wisdom that you've allowed us to have to make these decisions. We're ever grateful and thankful for that and for you. And we pray in our Father's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, next item. Is there any announcements or public comments that does not pertain to the agenda? Hearing none or seeing anybody move to the mic, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda from the meetings of November 20th for City Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Move
Okay.
to read old business by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read old business by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number one, approval of budgetary ordinance 23-17 to amend the council budgetary ordinance 23-07, fixing and authorizing the payment of certain salaries of appointed officers and employees for the year 2024 Civil City to replace project manager line item with assistant engineer, city engineer Mark Richards.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I understand that at the last council meeting, Ms. Tennell made the presentation to the council and did an excellent job from my understanding. So I would like to open it up to questions if you have any for me to answer.
And after the council here, we will open this up for a public hearing as well, so.
Mark, I don't have any.
Okay, so we can open it up for a public hearing. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Richards? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. So I think we're ready for,
Move to approve budgetary ordinance 23-17.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next item, approval of ordinance 23-15 regarding the minimum age of Merit Commission candidate, City Attorney Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, the purpose of this resolution is to authorize the city to have candidates that are 20 years of age, so long as they'll turn 21 before they actively join the force, but that way we can get them through the schooling and be, quite frankly, competitive. We have a lot of young folks that have gone through vocational training that are ready to get ready to go with their career, and they're not 21 yet, and this allows us to put them into in the law enforcement academy, get them going and hire them and get them involved in perf. So I don't have anything further to add after introduction. It's ready for action.
And just to clarify again, Lynn, for the record, they wouldn't be out on the street doing police work until they were actually 21.
That is correct, but we'll be able to get through all of the processes in the terms of the testing and all that thing, because if I remember, Chief, that slows us down about 6 months, right? Yeah. So we feel like we're losing some good candidates because they don't want to wait that long.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. It's also open for public hearing, so at this time, I'll open public hearing. Does anybody have a question about the process? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Move to approve ordinance 23-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move to read new business by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read new business by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll go on to amendment to ordinance 2020-13, Community Development Specialist Dana Monson.
Yes, good evening. I have before you Resolution 2323. What we are requesting is a change to the Public Art Advisory Commission ordinance. This was the ordinance that established the commission. Specifically, what we would like to change is the designation of its members. We had, prior to the ordinance currently states that we have to have specific members from specific organizations. And what we have found through trial and error, I believe, is that sometimes we have difficulty being able to get a specific person from that specific organization and having an exact number of members. Before it was an 11-member board, we would like to have a range instead of that exact number so that we can continue to function and be compliant with our ordinance. We have a lot of folks that want to participate and want to be part of the organization, but sometimes with jobs and different things, we've had to have some step away and things like that, and then we've been short people and things. So we just wanted to make it clearer what it would be, what they would be. We would still have involvement from all of those organizations. It would just enable the mayor to be able to find the right person to appoint, to that commission a little bit easier. Ms. Gray, I don't know if you want to clarify anything further.
No, I think you nailed it, Dana. As you know, this is an advisory commission made up of great community volunteers. And sometimes it's just hard to get people to volunteer. But this gives us a little discretion so that we are complying with our requirements. And they're responsible for things like making recommendations for our banners, was a perfect example. Some of our artwork around town, they approve some of the alleys and things of that nature. So they've been very, very helpful. But sometimes it's hard to get a full complement of members.
Well, I do see a person that I've just asked to be on this board, and she's in attendance tonight. Vicki Noblet. Want to raise your hand, Vicki? Yeah, Vicki is with the Community Foundation on the Community Foundation Board, so she ties into it that way. So good job. Thank you, Vicki. Okay. And Les Tabling is one that goes to, he's usually the only one there. So just, this is a pretty good, fun meeting that I think if we can get more people there and get more involved, they would see it is pretty functionable and a lot of good stuff is starting to happen. So good work. It's introduction tonight. So does anybody have any other questions tonight? It's just introduction. Is that right, Lynn?
That's correct. It is introduction.
Introduction, and
Yeah.
then the vote will be
Yes,
at the
because
next.
we're amending our ordinance.
Okay.
All right. I think it's been introduced.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next item, tax abatement request, Community Development Specialist, Dana Monson.
Again, thank you. I'm here before you tonight with a request for an abatement from Mitsubishi Turbo Engine America. MTEA came to us, to the city of Franklin, back in 2013. They were located originally where Mitsubishi Heavy Industries was located on 1200 Mitsubishi Parkway. As we know, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries had some changes and they are no longer in that facility. However, Mitsubishi MTEA is currently there and they are continuing to grow, continuing to do some really great things with that business and with that location. They have come before us because they are extending a line. They are adding about $2,509,020 worth of personal property equipment. This new equipment will help them to expand some of the work that they are doing. They will also be able to add new employees. They are estimating to add 22 new jobs as part of this abatement and as part of this project overall. I do have representatives tonight from Mitsubishi, Mitsubishi Turbo Engine, if you have any questions for them about the project. Mr. Taylor is also your representative, and he was there when they came before the EDC last month.
I wasn't there.
Oh, no, that's right, you weren't there.
That was the one I couldn't make it.
That's the one, yeah, you had, last minute, you're right, sorry.
So ask him lots of questions.
He's always there, I'm used to him
Don't ask
not
me any
being.
questions on this one.
It's not normal for him not to be there.
And we can take action on this one
Correct.
tonight.
Yeah, it's already ER designation, isn't it?
Correct.
That's
Yes,
what I
ma'am.
thought. Yes.
They are also amenable to the 5% economic development fee as well.
And the recommendation is a 3-year on the
Is a
personal property?
3-year, yes, ma'am.
And we don't have a public hearing, but I can open it up for public hearing if anybody has any questions about tax abatement. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. So I think we're ready for action.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, approval, and this is introduction only, approval of ordinance 2023-16, annexation to be known as DPW 4.5 acres annexation. Senior Planner Joanna Tennell.
Good evening. At the November 21st Plan Commission meeting, the Plan Commission did recommend favorable recommendation for 4.5 acres located at 800 South State Street be annexed into the city. Property is located immediately east and adjacent to DPW. The city of Franklin has actually owned this property since 1991, and we have had different services at that location. So it just makes sense to have property that we own
In
our jurisdiction.
Yeah, and, yeah, Plan Commission asked that question, thought it was a good question to ask.
That is a great question.
Okay, and it's introduction only, so we'll move on to the next item, if that's all right with everyone. If anybody has a question for Joanna, please stop me and ask her. If not, I'll go on to the next item. Approval of ordinance 2023-17 rezoning to be known as DPW rezoning. It's introduction only. Senior Planner Joanna Tennell.
This is the companion piece with that annexation. The request is to rezone that property to institutional, which would be consistent with what DPW is zoned. This was also before Plan Commission at the November 21st meeting, and a favorable recommendation was forwarded. Both of these cases are slated for public hearing on December 18th, with the fiscal plan being presented at that meeting, and then also official action January 2nd.
Okay, and I just want to add, I did go to the Plan Commission meeting. There was a question brought up or a comment brought up, and I didn't go to speak, but I'm glad I was there and was able to answer the question. The question was, are we going to, the land that we're trying to annex, are we going to move our sewer treatment plant to that area, which would be pretty close to a house that's right there and some property? And no, we're not. What the property is for, and we don't have a map, we can have it the next time, I think, and show exactly what it is. But we are looking at, and Irene heard this, at the Plan Commission, we are looking at a sewer plant expansion. I think the last one, I think it was built in '74, and I think in '98 was the last big expansion that it had there. So it is time. We're about 85, 88% capacity. You can When you start getting close to 90%, it's time you really need to dig down into the plans. What are you going to do? If we don't do it, we're going to get mandated, so we're ahead of the game. We're looking to do the engineering. I've had a couple meetings with engineering firms, so we are looking for an expansion with our sewer plant, which will probably be 2026 is when it looks like with the engineering and getting to the plant, that's where we'll be in 2026, and it is about $35–40 million project. So, and we've already had a meeting with Jeff Peters, our financial advisor, and Sally and Jane, and we're going to be able to handle this just fine. It's just getting all the details together, and then I will get with the city council and actually probably have maybe when we get going here with the financing, get a couple with the city council to go and help talk with Jeff on the best way to do this before we present it to the public. So, but I want the public to know it is coming, and we're working on it, 2026. So it's introduced.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have said all that if the question wasn't have brought up, so I'm glad the question was brought up at the meeting. Okay, next item. Meeting memorandum regarding opioid settlement funds, City Attorney Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. As the council will recall, the city of Franklin participated in the opioid litigation, holding distributors of various opioids responsible for the addiction problems that have really plagued the country. As a result of that settlement, we receive funds that are going to be paid out through 2038 from the various settlements that you see in through the news media and through television, and so we continue to receive monies. When we receive monies, the current amounts that we are supposed to receive are somewhere in the neighborhood of $457,000. But most of those monies are restricted as to what types of uses we can do with that money. There's unrestricted amounts and there are restricted amounts. And for good reason. The idea is to use the money that we receive from the settlements for opioid remediation issues and to be able to address issues that are in local communities. So while $457,000 is nothing to sneeze at, it's very hard to have a program that is sustainable over a period of time when you're receiving small amounts over years, and you have restrictions on what kinds of things that you can do. The county health department called a meeting of various people together to run through some potential ideas of what things that could be used for that, and did it make some sense for the various government entities to pool their resources together and collectively try to tackle one issue that you could actually get something done. Obviously, it'd be great to have facilities and things of that nature, but you can't do it with this little amount available. Present at that meeting was myself, the county attorney, Kevin Walls, the mayor, people from Bargersville, people from Whiteland, people from the courts, and all of the people were non-voting members, but throwing around ideas. Probation department was one. Terry McLaughlin from the city of Greenwood was one as an ex-sheriff. There were a lot of people at that meeting throwing around ideas of what is there a potential program out there that we could do that could address an issue that would really help. And one of the conversations happened a lot was this gap that occurs between first responders, whether it be in the form of EMS or police officers or a fire department that will go to some place where there has been, unfortunately, an overdose, administer opioid, what is it? Narcan, thank you. Administer Narcan, transport the individual, get them assistance, and then there's this gap. What do they do after? There's nobody following up with that person. Quite frankly, there's nobody following with the families. If they can't get into medical treatment, what do you do? And so both the probation department, the jail, the first responders, and EMS said there's really, in fact, many of the EMS folks said, we have a lot of our firefighters and first responders who are interested in what happens to that person. What happened with them. We have time. We'd like to reach out to them. So those were the things that talked about. Is there a program that we could put together county-wide that we could all work and use maybe some of these restricted funds to develop that program? The thought occurred to me that before you come up with any concept of what a program might exist and how it would work and how it would be funded, really, we need to have some information from our various entities on whether they are interested in collaboration. Because maybe they don't wish to. For instance, Bargersville doesn't have enough money. That their amount they're getting is so little that they're just going to give it to the county and let the county use it. In fact, I think it's called for. We receive a lot, Greenwood receives a lot, the county receives a lot. So I felt it appropriate before we even talked about concepts of what you could do to get some direction from the various legal entities of would they be interested in collaborating without any kind of commitment of this is the program we're going to do. For some strange reason, I volunteered at the end of the meeting to summarize what occurred at the meeting and put it in a memo form, and that's what you have in your packet. It was also given to all the various governmental entities for them to have so they knew what occurred at this meeting, and each individual was going to have it voted on by their various entities, whether it be Greenwood Council or whatever. So having said that, that's why there's that memorandum, and I guess my question to all of you is collaboration with these funds that we are to receive, the lion's share of which is to be restricted. I believe it's $332,000. You're taxing me, Tara. I think I'm squinting, but I think it's roughly $333,000 that is restricted funds. You'll see that's called the total abatement share. It's got to be used to abate these kinds of issues. That's how much are you interested in maybe pursuing some collaborative thing with other Johnson County entities, because totally the county in its entirety receives $5.5 million, all the entities together. But that's through 2038. So for instance, Princess Lake said, we get $12,000. We can't devise a program for $12,000. Neither could Bargersville. So that's what I'm here to ask for. Do you wish me to further these conversations? If no one else wants to collaborate, I guess our answer is we're back to the drawing board, but the health department really felt it made some sense to try to pool our resources together and have a plan. So questions, answers, thoughts? Yes.
Did they bring up the paramedicine program?
That's one of the big things that a lot of, yes, the answer is yes.
As a city, we're already
Right.
in that.
As is White River Township, as it's, and yes, Chief, lots of things were brought up. The probation department brought up the peer mentoring process. Many, the courts talked about, could we do something, yeah. And so a lot of programs were brought up, but I didn't feel it appropriate to talk about programs until you find out from your legislative body, are you interested in collaboration? Because technically it's our money. Now, I don't know what we could do with it over the next 15 years at $300,000 total. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, certainly, and I'm glad we participated, but we can't probably sustain any program with that limited amount. And so yeah, lots of ideas, and these, quite frankly, Chief, were professionals that deal with it on a daily basis. That I wasn't even familiar with the problem, to be honest with you, but it just seemed that the next appropriate step would to go to each individual entity and say, would you like to pool your resources with somebody else? Because with $5.5 million, we might be able to do something.
I'm good with furthering the conversation.
Me too.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
Ditto.
Yeah, I'm not asking for official vote, but quite frankly, I didn't want to have these conversations and have it reported in the paper somebody else. And, this is ultimately your decision as to what you wish to do with those restricted funds. And I wanted to get direction from you.
Yeah, I don't know, if someone in that situation, what happens if, the police fire goes out and they get Narcan? What is their responsibility to do, and is there the report, is there any follow-up? I mean, I don't even know the procedure if something like that happens, to be very honest.
Nothing. That's the big That's the big gap.
Okay.
We obviously have mental health provider issues that are not there, and you know the county's trying to deal with that on a larger basis. But quite frankly, I was struck by the number of police officers and the EMTs and the fire department people that said, we would really like to have the resource available that we could follow up with that family, and said, do you know that this is available? Almost like a navigator. Do you know? Because nothing. They will respond. They're very effective at administering the Narcan. They get transported to the hospital, and they're out 10 hours later, and they have no idea where to go. Is there
They
some?
may want the help.
Yes.
If they had the help.
Or a family member wants to know what help is available. And there's that gap of treatment. Or they can call some of service providers, and they're waiting literally 6 months to get an appointment.
I mean, Lynn, excuse me, I think this falls right into Johnson Memorial Hospital, what we talked about earlier at the Board of Works meeting. I think that if anyone should be involved in this, it would be them.
And they have,
Right? I
a-
mean, that's,
they have a
they have
different.
the professionals to.
They have a different program. What this conversation, and like I said, there were no commitments. What this conversation really formed around was, at $5.5 million, is there something that can be done as a governmental entity that fills that gap?
Right.
You can't run a facility for $5.5 million a year, let alone over the next 15. So the funding wasn't there, and I think, and Mayor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were sitting there too. I think the idea was we would like to do something that really can impact, but is actually sustainable, and it's probably going to have to be more, smaller, like the paramedicine that you were talking about. And it may be in the form of just collaboration of available resources amongst the various departments. Because as some people suggested, you may have someone from White River Township responding to an incident in White River Township for a Franklin resident. And Franklin has no idea that this occurred across the county lines. And so, yeah, big issue. And I'm glad we've got the money to do something.
So what I'm hearing is the council said, yes, let's have further conversation.
Right.
And there isn't really a plan
No, sir.
yet. We're trying to see if everybody else wants to have this conversation, and then we'll come back with a plan to the council that
Right.
either you can approve or say, no, we don't
Or
want
say,
to. Yeah.
correct, and you can always say no, but the plan at $5.5 million funding is different than a plan that may be only $2 million in funding, and until we know how many people wanted to buy in, it really was kind of a waste of time trying to create a plan. So just wanted to know if you wanted us to pursue. And the county very much wanted to. So I think the county is a yes. Greenwood seemed interested, but I haven't heard their official word yet.
Okay.
Which are the three major players.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Lynn, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
So because that money comes to us
Mm-hmm.
once a year,
Right,
and so of course we have it in two different funds.
Right.
and everything.
right.
So if we decide to pool all our money, does our money then when we get the money, do we transfer it? Who knows or what?
Yeah, way too early, but we would still receive it. It's still in our restricted funds, and we would keep it. It would probably be done through an interlocal agreement.
Okay, and we would still be
Absolutely, and we'd get our,
the reporting. and
that's correct,
everything.
that's correct. The sense seemed to be that if the county was having one collective program together, the state would be very happy with that, and they would see where the money is going. Yeah, they would see what we do, but yeah, we would still keep track of our money, and there would be some kind of interlocal.
How many meetings you got left, Jane? Oh, okay. You're making good notes, I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you
All
for
right.
your direction. I will proceed.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Next item, approval of Resolution 23-21, authorizing the agreement for services with PMR Healthcare City Attorney Lynn Gray.
I'm being a bit of an agenda hog here. I promise
Perfect,
this will be it.
perfect, we love it.
Okay. As you recall, several meetings ago, representatives from PMR Medical came to the council members to present what they believed to be an opportunity for the city to perhaps save some money with regard to our health care costs. And that presentation was made. One of the, by way of background for those folks in the audience, I know council members already know, as you know, the city provides probably the Cadillac of all health insurance plans for our employees. It truly is about, what, a $20-some thousand benefit, Mayor, I think you've quoted. And so it's a very, very good insurance plan for our employees, very little co-pays, very little deductibles, and things of that nature. However, given the way of the world, continuing to maintain that kind of level of service is simply not sustainable from a budgetary standpoint unless we make some adjustments to how health care is provided. As I have understood from leadership and the administration, is we really want to continue to provide the best plan we can available to our employees. Currently, it costs us about, Jane, please correct me if I'm wrong, at least $4.5 million just paying the claims as they come in. We also have several $100,000 that we have to pay for insurance that pays for the catastrophic claims. That may be up to $750,000, I think. And so when we say we have insurance for our employees, essentially we are the insurance company. We pay those claims, and then we pay an insurance policy to pay for the very catastrophic claims. After the presentation was made, and I think, Mayor, correct me again, I think the presentation was that PMR believed that we could save potentially $400,000 or so each year if we participated in the clinic setting that they have. And the way, in a nutshell, that works is if, I'm going to use Mayor because he used his own example at the Board of Works. If the mayor gets an earache and he goes to the emergency care, he will have no payment that is due. Emergency care will then bill the city for the treatment that he receives. Because the city doesn't have a contract with emergency care, we pay market rate for that service. The way that employers save money is they have agreements with clinics that will charge a certain amount for that type of service. X-rays are going to cost you X, MRIs are going to cost you Y, your prescription is going to cost you Z. And when an employee goes to that clinic, that's the charge you're going to get. And often, because of the collectiveness of those kinds of agreements, you will save money over the long run. So that's one way to save money. The second way to save money is preventive in the nature. The evidence was presented to us, which I believe is also consistent with industry standards, is the vast majority of folks in today's world don't have primary care physicians, either because they're not available or because they've never established that relationship, or their primary care physician doctors they're dwindling in nature. Most of, I mean, there aren't the old GP that's out there. There aren't as many of them. So if a person doesn't have a primary care physician, they generally are not doing the preventive types of medicines that you can do. And if you can catch somebody through a routine blood test that's pre-diabetic and keep them from being diabetic and keep them from having a heart attack, you will save money in the long run. And so that's the idea, to get people to go back to getting primary care physicians. So that's the concept. After the presentation to you folks, one of the directions that I think we received from the council was to have this looked over and vetted. And so Jane and the mayor and I and some council members looked at the various numbers that were presented, and we utilized the assistance of John Ald, who is our insurance agent for this. So he administers the works with us in administering the $4.5 million, the $750,000, and said, John, do you think we will save money? I mean, we expect PMR to tell us, but do you think we'll save money? He wasn't certain that it would be $400,000, but he said there would be a saving, perhaps $100,000 or $200,000. It's hard to tell, so I don't want to sit here and tell you that's how much you're going to save, because it depends on how many people use it. And if nobody uses it, you're not going to save money. But collectively, he felt immediately that, yeah, you need to pursue this to see if you can save money, because the other alternative is these costs are going to have to be passed on to the employees, which is simply because it's not sustainable to continue down this path with this kind of medical expense, particularly as you grow your employee base and particularly as your employee base ages. And if you have catastrophic circumstances. We've been lucky in the last couple of years. A couple of years ago, we weren't so lucky. So you don't know for sure. So what PMR has presented to us is this agreement that they will provide the clinic of roughly 40 hours a week available to our employees. It will not cost our employees anything. Our savings will be through their charge to us will be different than the emergency rooms, the urgent cares, the immediate care centers. Their charges are fixed in the amount. I think the general thought process is if we have this clinic and our employees start using it, we will see that there is a savings. Also, we want to give our employees an option to see that if you can save us money as a city, you're going to save yourself money in the long run, because we've got to do something to get these healthcare costs under control. Originally, PMR suggested a 3-year agreement. I ask, and I will tell you in the conversations and the dealings with PMR, they sent me the contract. Everything that I pushed back on, they agreed to. So they were very willing to try this. John Auld told us we probably won't see the results for at least 18 months. So they had a 3-year agreement. I altered it to a 2-year agreement. It does have us paying $8,500 in setup charges. It has us paying $31,000 a month, whether our employees use it or don't use it. But I think at the end of the day, if they don't use it, we're not going to be left with any other alternative than to raise costs. And I think that's going to be the incentive to help our employees have something other available so they can help us try to save costs. And many of the times, they're not trying to run up the cost. They just don't have any other alternative available to them. So this clinic being open generally 40 hours a week during the week. The hours are going to be flexible depending upon need. So there may be a situation where they adjust the hours on a Tuesday because that's where they see the influx of things occurring. They did offer, this would be coverage for up to 580 covered folks. We don't have 580 employees, as you all know, but we have employees who have covered individuals, their kids and their spouses and things of that nature. So this will treat up to 580. It includes things such as a 60-minute, I believe, 90-minute initial physical exam. So somebody who doesn't have a healthcare physician can go out there and have a total lab work and blood work and everything, and follow up. If your child needs a physical at school, you can take them out there. You can do those. And right now we're paying for them anyway. So this is what we will be paying PMR to do. So with that, I will be quiet and answer questions. I think there's a representative here that could answer questions if they wish. The idea is to get this up and running. We truly won't know what savings is there. We won't. But if we do nothing, it's not sustainable. We can't continue down this road without some assistance. Fair?
You done good, just the way I trained you. Good job.
Thank you.
So we can take action tonight.
Yes, you can.
But I want people to be able to vet this out and ask the questions if you really need to ask, if you have questions that you're sitting here thinking. And I'll even open it up to a public hearing, which we don't have to, but I'm going to. And Todd, you just had your hand up. So I am opening it up for a public hearing, so go ahead, please.
I thought of one more question that came up when you were talking about that. So the reporting, does that come to you monthly, quarterly, annual? I mean, how do we know when that savings is taking place?
Thank you.
I know they do, and then who's gonna monitor that? Because that's gonna be some of the tasks.
Yeah, we don't think we'll have good statistics, honestly, for 18 months.
I don't think you will either, but
Yeah. Yeah, and right now, the way that it's done, we have it, well, it's your business. You're in this industry. You know, we have an administrator. It's Anthem, isn't it? So they administer our claims. So it'll be much the same as it is now. So, yeah, we'll have that data. It's just Where the savings comes, as you know, is having the collective contract with PMR for all of those services.
PMR will give you a report also?
Yeah, well, yeah, all the claims will be going through Anthem.
Is that
Yeah.
how that works?
Yeah.
Can, can you let everybody know your name? Just, you're here representing JMH.
I'm Rick Kester, I'm the Chief Operating Officer, I'm representing Johnson Memorial Health. We have also partnered with PMR, they're in our space, it's in one of the hospital properties, and we've been working alongside of them for well over a year now. So we're just trying to figure out this space ourselves, obviously being a healthcare provider of not only primary care, this family medicine, but also urgent care and emergency care as well. So we see where this model is sustainable. We're trialing this out. I know last time Mr. Taylor asked me about the schools. We're doing 3 tracks, one with JMH employees, one with the schools, and then also one hopefully with the city of Franklin. And that is, we're going to be watching this like hawks, studying this. Obviously, PMR is going to give you reports. I feel like between you guys and us, we're going to hold them very accountable to their promises.
Rick, just the question that I might have, there's 3 different entities here that you're working with. It's kind of a little bit of 3 different plans, isn't it?
That's right.
And you're trying to monitor and figure out which one is the best plan to hone in on.
Yeah, and to Lynn's point, what we have going on right now is not sustainable. We face that same thing with our own hospital employees. The costs only go up every year, and how do we curb this, because it's becoming where it's a financial detriment to the bottom line of an organization. So we're just trying to vet out the processes, and we are trying with 3 different tracks, PMR being one of those tracks.
And not to get too deep into the woods, I find this topic fascinating, though. I mean, insurance companies make money because they have collective agreements with healthcare providers that they write you down. And so insurance companies go and say, all right, JMH, when you have one of our insureds, you can only charge us $50 for that MRI, even though somewhere out there is going to be paying a lot more money. That's how they make their money. When you are self-insured as we are, concept's much the same. We are simply reaching an accord with a clinician to be able to provide many of those same services for a set fee, hopefully writing down what we would normally be paying with some other places that don't have those set fees. That's how it works. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that we're going to save $400,000. I know we're going to spend $31,000 a month. That I can tell you for sure. But John seemed to be very certain we would save money. And I just know that if we don't, we're going to have to pass that on to the employees somehow, some way, which I don't think we want to do at this point without giving them another option.
I think I do want to make one correction. The $4.5 million, we don't spend that a year. I think we spent about 2.5 last year, if I remember. But the 4.5, before the insurance policy kicks in, if we have a catastrophe, we do pay up to 4.5.
But we pay close to it though, because we also pay our insurance premiums for that additional on top of it. So I asked John specifically about what is the city's, you're right, we pay about $4-something million a year to have this program available. So we pay up to a certain amount, and then we have to pay for what's the name of it, Todd? You know what the other insurance, stop loss, thank you.
Yeah.
We have to pay for the stop loss insurance beyond that pays. So we pay a good chunk of change every year, and it's not going down.
Okay, is there any other questions from the public hearing? Yes.
Are there any other entities that have switched to PMR where we have data that shows its efficacy or like a quantifiable savings?
When we ask for references, so we have other municipalities doing work with PMR. So the west side and east side of Indianapolis right now are both working with them. So Hendricks County and Hancock County. So we've used references, and then also we've tried to compile data. And last time I think we had a lady named Lacey here. She was a third party. She was totally independent, looking at claims data, and that's what they've done to vet this for us. Because again, it's extremely complicated to look at, and you're you're talking millions of dollars, and everybody's a little bit different with the way that they've set up their plans. But yes, we've gone through pretty detailed analysis.
Yeah.
a couple of times.
And she did that for us as well. And, you know, as so much of it's coding, so to just dump a bunch of paperwork onto city councilmen, you don't know if you're comparing apples to apples, but she was pretty adamant that we would say,
And just for the record, we've started this process.
oh, 8 months ago.
9 months ago, I
Yeah.
think.
It's been a bit.
Yeah.
Sean and Kenny was on the very first meeting along with Jane, and so this has been a long process.
And the other thing is that the only feedback that I received from employees was, do I still get to keep my providers? The answer is yes. There is nothing in this agreement that requires our employees to go to this facility. I think so. A big part of it is going to be education. PMR is charged with the reach out to do, and we want to make it not a mandatory thing for our employees to do, but an opportunity for our employees to have, so that they see that if we can save money, they're going to save money.
And the bottom line is, and I'll say it again, I said it at the Board of Works, if we can't get our employees to buy in to go try this out and see it's going to be a good deal for them and try to save us money, then it's simply going to have to be passed on. We can't sustain this. We just can't. And I know that Mr. Austin here, he's been telling me for, I don't know how many years now, we got to do something, and you're right. So,
Here we are. We're trying to.
Here we
you know,
are. We're trying to do
We're trying to
something.
actually, help our employees, by doing this and implementing this. So that said, if anyone in the council have any more comments?
So let me close the public hearing. Does anybody else have anything out here? We'll close the public hearing. Proceed there, Mr. Austin, sir.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 23-21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
I
Thank you.
will report back.
Thank you.
Okay, there isn't any other business, so we'll go into council comments, and I think I'm going to start with Taylor Trueblood tonight.
Yeah, so we just had our winter market downtown, and FMYLC had a booth down there where we made $332, and we used all that money to buy presents for our Christmas Angel family that we're sponsoring. And we're also working still with Duke Energy to continue our electric vehicle charger project. So yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Okay, will you introduce who's here?
Oh yeah, so I'm Taylor Trueblood, and this is Ella McGinnis, Lizzie Warland, and Lauren Clem.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Irene?
I don't have anything tonight, sir. Thank you.
Nothing tonight, sir?
Ken?
I just mentioned at the Board of Works meeting, the turnout this weekend was amazing downtown. Saw a lot of families downtown. It was packed, but the parade was a success, and the winter market was amazing. So appreciate everything the city employees do as well. Thank you.
Ann?
Same thing. I saw Kenny down there. It was a great weekend, and so it was a lot of fun. So nice job.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that. Kudos to all the city employees putting on the activities this weekend. I've spent a lot of time at the winter market, and Discover Downtown did a fantastic job of organizing that.
Thank you. Tara, do you have anything for the council?
Yeah, I mentioned it at Board of Works, but I just want to publicly thank all the businesses and engineering firms and the people we work with on a daily basis. They donated to our company, our city Christmas party, and we have 148 people RSVP to attend, and everybody will leave with a gift. So we have a lot of donations this year. It's one, it's the most attended city Christmas party, and then two, it's the most donations we've ever received. So super grateful that we get to pass on that to our city employees that work so hard all year long.
And that date is when? Because the city,
December 15th.
December 15th, and city council is certainly invited to be there, so. Okay. Lynn?
I've said plenty.
You've said, yeah, you have. Jane? Okay, with that, I believe that's it. I don't have anything to add.